Everybody, good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for I think this is the first CFOA virtual meeting. George Demetrio and Kirk Russell will be your presenters for the evening. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Joel Pogar. I will be your moderator and looking at the chat window. And just to keep everything orderly tonight, we've got close to 90 people online already. If you have questions, post them in the chat window, and I will make sure Kirk and George answer them. So without further ado, George, I'm going to pass it over to you, and it's all yours.
Thank you, Joe. Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining us tonight. This is the first of three online statewide meetings that we plan on having for the season. Before I get into my presentation, I just want to mention one thing that I had left out of the master clinic. Some of you have already had the opportunity to view it. It's 25 minutes. It's the shortest master clinic we've had in at least the last 30 years. And I hope you will find it informative. But the main rule change for the 2022 season is the exception for intentional grounding, which allows a player to throw the ball away once he is outside the free blocking zone and can throw the ball far enough to reach the neutral zone or the neutral zone extended. And one difference that has with NCAA rules is that the player who throws the ball away does not have to be the player who receives the snap. So if there is a reverse play and the running back gets trapped behind the line, he can legally throw the ball away. He's obviously outside the free blocking zone. And as long as he reaches the neutral zone, that is legal grounding. However, all other rules apply. So if that happens and there are ineligibles downfield, those should be flagged. That is a foul. And if anyone blocks downfield while the running back is deciding whether or not to throw the ball away, then we have offensive pass interference. So as I said, I did not clarify that in the master clinic, but that is the interpretation for this season. Also, one other thing before I get into my presentation, I mistakenly told Kirk that we would end this session once he finishes his video review, but I would like to keep it open for a few minutes in case anybody has any questions on any other topic, either something that was covered this evening or on any other related topic. So with that, as you can see from the screen, we are going to discuss a semifinal lesson. And this is all about a play that happened last year in one of the 4A semifinals. And what I'd like to do is set the stage for you so that you understand the criticality of this play. Montrose was the visiting team at Erie, and Montrose was up 28-14 late in the fourth quarter, and Erie scored a touchdown to make the score 28-21. Erie then proceeded to try an onside kick, and they were able to get possession of the ball, drive down the field and score. They went for two and they won the game 29-28. Very exciting game. But the controversy was all about the onside kick, which I am going to show you. I'm going to show you the entire play, and then I will go through it second time and point out some things you may have not picked up on. And then I will cover what I believe are the learning points from this one play. So here is our video. As soon as I find the start button. So it's playing. You can see that there's the score's 28-21, with 4 minutes left in the game, and Erie goes out for an onside kick. Okay, so let's take another look at it. Actually, we got to let it finish. I thought I was muting the announcer, but I actually had stopped the play. Not sure what has happened here. Okay, so let's go through the play one more time. We can see Erie is huddled up on the near sideline. They have 10 players here, and here is player number 11. He's wearing number 10. So they break the huddle and they go out with 10 players. We can see that this is intended deception. We'll get a look at actually, I don't think we're going to see the sideline anymore. Let me just back it up a little bit. So we can see that here's player number 11, and he's being shielded by those two coaches. And as I said, there are 10 players here. They successfully pull off an onside kick. The ball is allowed to remain live, and the runner is put out of bounds on the 26-yard line. Crew has a discussion, and they are totally focused on the dead ball spot, and they put the ball back within 1 yard of where the kicking team recovered it. They belatedly recognized that the ball was dead when the kickers got control of the ball. They were able to get a reasonable connection. So here's a list of the things that I'm going to go through. The onside kick mechanics, communication of the crew, the counting, the communication of the crew, the 020 radios that the crew had, and there were 6 officials on this game. They had a volunteer, 6th official, which we've allowed the last few years for semifinal games. And then we're going to talk about the rules knowledge involved, and with specific attention to deception plays and the kicking team possession on kicks. And then again, we'll talk about the communication amongst the crew after the play. And we're going to talk about that guy. So to start off with onside kick mechanics, we don't have much of anything in our mechanics manual about when to use onside kick mechanics. It is a crew judgment item. Obviously, if the coach makes it known that he is going to be using an onside kick, then the crew should go into onside kick mechanics. Most of the time, though, the crew should read the game situation and decide whether or not to go into side kick mechanics. And I would offer a guideline. This is not locked in concrete, but if the team is behind one or two possessions, somewhere around the middle of the fourth quarter, it is reasonable to expect an onside kick. Keep in mind that going into onside kick positions is not a big detriment. We have very few fouls on kickoff returns, and the first touching on an onside kick is much, much more important to get right than a foul downfield, which in a lot of cases may have no impact on the play. We'd like to be able to do all of the above, but the first touching is much more important because it determines who has possession of the ball. So the thought I'd like to leave you with on that is, when in doubt, go into your onside kick mechanics.
Hey, George, just a question. What about when the coach may tip an official off, midway through the game that they're looking for some kind of momentum changer and they're going to do an onside kick and, the score doesn't warrant it. It's the second quarter, beginning of the second quarter. How do we handle that where we don't tip off the other team that may be coming?
If we have inside information that it is going to be an onside kick and it is going to be a surprise onside kick, we cannot react to that. We can talk about it among ourselves and be especially attuned to what might happen, but we should not go into onside kick mechanics at that time because that would tip off the opposing team.
Got it. And I'm getting also just some comments to ask you either to get closer to your mic or just speak up a little bit.
Okay, I will get closer. So the last thought here is, when in doubt, go onside. So communication. Apparently, there was no discussion amongst the crew as to whether they should go into onside kick mechanics. They simply went to their normal positions. And it doesn't have to be the referee that initiates the change in mechanics. Anyone on the crew can approach the referee and point out the game situation and ask the referee to consider going to onside kick mechanics. So recognize the game situation and communicate with one another. Counting. We have at least two officials counting both teams. In this case, there was confusion over how many players that the kicking team had on the field. I ended up speaking or emailing with every official on this game, and I'm still not exactly sure who counted what when, but we know that the back judge counted 10 and still gave the ball to the kicker. The back judge did not know about the hideout player, but at least one other official on the crew recognized the hideout player. The back judge explained that it was not his problem if they wanted to kick off with 10, and he decided to give the ball to the kicker and let them kick off with what he believed was 10 players. I spoke to the area director involved here, and he agreed that his association follows what's in the mechanics manual, that the ball is not given to the kicker until the back judge is sure that the kicking team is in compliant with all formation requirements. That means that they have 11 players on the field and that everybody other than the kicker is within 5 yards of the kickoff line. Okay, the communication involved here is the back judge and line judge should be counting and signaling to one another. We can take another look at the video when we're done. And it appeared that the back judge counted. He did look around, but he never signaled his count to anyone. And of course, it's okay to talk to the kicker about the number of players that are on the kickoff team. The radios. Most of these guys had never worked with each other before, and they had radios. And radios can be very, very helpful, but they're not a panacea for everything. We should not neglect our normal hand signals, and sometimes a face-to-face discussion is still the best way to go. Rules knowledge. This is a classic deception play. The team intentionally tried to hide the player wearing number 10, who was the 11th player. Rule 721 does not require all players on the kicking team to be inside the 9-yard marks. The rule is written for Team A, and this is a play with Team K, so there is no requirement for every member of the kicking team to be inside the numbers after the ready for play signal. However, Rule 964D prohibits a team from using the substitution process to deceive the opponents, and that's exactly what was taking place here. After a try or a field goal, all players should be considered substitutes, and certainly number 10 was trying to deceive as to whether he was standing on the sideline or part of the kicking team. So 964D was clearly violated in this play. Okay, K possession, I've already talked about it. We all know that when the kickers gain possession of a free kick or a scrimmage kick, the ball is dead, whether they catch or recover it. We know the rule, and we often do not react to it immediately. And as I mentioned, the crew did not react to the K possession immediately, but they got together and found out that the ball was indeed dead when number 10 recovered the ball, and they got within 1 yard of where he recovered the ball. Unfortunately, that took up their entire discussion after the play, and they did not get into a discussion over the hideout player. There was one official that observed the hideout player and recognized it as a foul and threw his flag. And as I understand it, he was talked into picking up the flag on the grounds that the rules didn't require the player to be inside the 9-yard marks. So if anybody recognized that this was a deception play, they didn't really get a chance to talk about it. And the other thing that was a little bit out of sync is the referee never saw the flag thrown, and the flag was picked up by the official who threw it without ever telling the referee that the flag was picked up. So there were a variety of errors committed here.
So George, a couple of questions are rolling in. I want to make sure we get to. So one set of questions was around what if they only have 10 players and due to an injury, they can't put an 11th on the field or some other reason. Do we just let them kick off even though they're at a disadvantage?
Yes, they can legally kick off with 10. The purpose of the back judge pointing out to them is we don't want an inadvertent oversight to clog up the game. So as long as they know that they're kicking off with fewer than 11 players, they're allowed to do that.
Okay, and then the other question that's coming in or that's being asked, maybe we have to go back to the video, but how many players were on each side of the kicker when the ball was kicked? So when that hideout kicker was there, the discussion's going on of were they legal with the kick to begin with? Were there 4 players on that one side at least?
Yeah, I believe there were. It's kind of hard to tell when they bunch up with that. But I don't believe that rule was violated. We can take another look at that because we will look at the video one more time.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, and then my last slide here is that guy. You should all know who that guy is. Every association has at least one of those guys. That's the guy that waits until halftime or the end of the game to tell you that somebody on the crew did something wrong. He doesn't speak up at the appropriate time and saves his comment for the end of the game. There were 6 officials here, and 5 of them recognized the shortfall in this game. They all acknowledged that they could have done something differently and it could have worked out better. The 6th official was that guy. He denied he did anything wrong and insisted it was not his fault. It wasn't specifically his fault. There were a variety of errors, but certainly he could have done things differently. So that's all I have to say about it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the video one more time. So there it is. You may have picked up on some things that you didn't catch through the previous viewings. Montrose, of course, protested the outcome of the game to CHASA, and the CHASA response is there is no provision for appeals. It was an officiating error, and the final score stands. Erie went on to the championship game and did not did not win. So that concludes my presentation. If there are any further questions, I will take them on. If not, I will turn it over to Kirk, who has a variety of different plays to go over.
There's a conversation going on in the chat window, but I think we've addressed most of the questions, and then Scott Lewis and so forth is fielding some of the other questions in chat. So I think we're good on that one, George.
Okay. Kirk, it's all yours.
It says you need to stop sharing your content. I don't know if I can override that.
I will take care of that. Kirk, you are now the presenter. You need to share. All right, it's all yours.
Good evening, all. Always exciting time of the year for us. And once I start digging into showing some film, I get way out of control. So I'm going to try to keep this such that we all get out by 7:30 or a little bit after that. But my layout of plays that I want to look at tonight, just because we always start off on kickoffs. Rarely do we see kickoffs in any scrimmage. So it's just good to take a look at some images of kickoffs, and I've only got a couple there. I've got a couple punt plays, a couple items I want to talk about there, some block below the waist by the defense. It seems like every year we're ill prepared to recognize those blocks below the waist by the defense against a lead blocker. Next item I've got is I want to talk about goal line coverage. We always talk about the money line, and the big money line is the goal line, and so our mechanics help us cover the goal line. I've got the different depths as we move towards the goal line I want to talk a few things about, and I want to finish up about the goal line coming out if I've got time. But don't forget, it's always important to know that third down situations where that line to gain stake is really just like a money line, and we've got to pay attention, knowing maybe even moving to that line of gain stake at the snap would help us on that coverage. And then obviously fourth down and short, maybe take a step, get to the stake, so we've got the best view of that. I don't have any clips of those, but my point here is the money line is not always just the goal line. All right, so what I want to jump into here is kickoff. First kickoff I've got, let me see, just your standard kickoff. And the message I want to talk about on this particular play, and I've probably got better kickoffs I could show to cover this, but we've got to be prepared for action into the bench. Kickoffs that come into the bench are tricky for us because you can see right now we've got two officials clearing out players. Now in this case, it was a fairly clean bench area, but we've got to be prepared. Those other positions have got to close in quickly, because this could escalate towards the end of a game where a team just scored, maybe took the lead. Getting players separated. Keep in mind that the location of the snap is not a critical one. Where we put the ball down after a kickoff, plus or minus a yard, nobody's going to give us any grief. And so cleaning out players of the bench is my point here. Make sure you're up and your eyes are up and out, and not looking for the ball too soon. Coincidentally, the next play, somebody mentioned, what do you do with information on onside kick that we have? And to follow up on George said, and I agree 100%, we don't want to give away that information. And don't forget that if the opponent, the receiving team, has no idea they're going to kick an onside kick, the conflict that we are preparing for in a prepared onside kick positioning is no longer relevant, because there's only 5 linemen standing up front and there's a lot more separation of players. Not to say that that information still isn't valuable, but we move into this formation. You can see in this particular case, we are preparing for an onside kick. Our officials are on the 40 and the 50, and the near officials the same. And my point here is, I'm going to stop it right here, and you can see we've got a foul where the arrow is pointing down. We've got a player obviously offside. We say that let's not be ticky-tack when it's a kick ball all the way downfield. I think in this case it's probably a foul, even if that ball goes all the way down the field. He's a good step and a half beyond the line. So I think this is a foul even for a deep kickoff. But when they're onside kicking, we have to be strict on that kicker's line, and in this case, flag comes out. My message would be keep officiating, even though you drop the flag. keep your eyes up, maybe even close in. Anytime we've got that many players making contact on that receiver's line, after you throw the flag, maybe move in, try to deal with some bodies here, just to avoid complications right there. So what happens is, next play, they're going to tee it up with the 5-yard penalty, and they're going to try it again. The game is close enough. And in this case, and I'm preparing everybody just to think of all the things that can happen at the start of a season even. You know, a team might take advantage of an onside kick. We wouldn't be prepared for it like this, but be prepared for an onside kick. This is a case where that same wing official that threw the flag on the previous play has first touching at 9 yards. Got a beanbag down, very confident in his information. I'm not real happy with the coaches on the field. Obviously, an intense moment. I don't know that I would immediately flag him, but I'd make sure they get off the field. And if they resisted, we've even got an assistant coach. The guy on the field farthest right there, that's an assistant coach. They should be nowhere near that turf at this point in time. They got a head coach out there too, protesting. If you need to, get a flag. Can't have coaches barking in your ear on the field like this. And if you need to, just walk them off the field. So anyway, be ready for the onside kick. All right, next series I want to talk about is punts. All right, so here's something that it seems like comes through our game reports every year. Remember this statement, and if you have to, say it to yourself as you're watching this film. A punted ball in kick status cannot be recovered in the end zone by either team. And I say that, in this case, you're going to see this punted ball cross the goal line. And I'm talking about ours goal line. Once that happens, the play is over. The play is ended. We have a touchback. No matter what happened in the field of play, who touched the ball, who tried to recover the ball, unless the receiving team possesses the ball and fumbles it, this cannot be anything other than a touchback. Let's be very clean with this and not make this mistake this year. We shouldn't have a single game report. If that punted ball goes into the end zone, it cannot be a safety. The only thing it can be is a touchback, and nobody can bring it out, because once it breaks the plane of that goal line, and this back judge is in great position to see that, and really doesn't have a need to find the ball here, it doesn't matter. Now, I don't mind him being there to unpile players. That's important. But this is a touchback immediately as soon as that ball crosses the goal line, unless it is fumbled by R into their end zone, and that's a whole different story. So let's avoid any of these mistakes this year. Next one I'm showing is this might be another one. Let's like doing the same one here. Okay, it's the same situation. Kicking team muffs the ball. Ball is loose. It can be possessed by by K in the field of play after this muff. But once it goes into the end zone, and here you can see the back judge goes up with a safety signal, and that is incorrect. Let me back this up. You can watch the muff kick comes down into the breadbasket there, bounces out, scramble for the ball, squirts loose, goes into the end zone, immediately a touchback because it was never possessed.
Kirk, are you going to touch on the momentum rule and how that would impact a play like this as well?
You know what? I don't want to get sidetracked on some other issues because I've got other plays, but certainly momentum, those area directors watching this, jump into that momentum rule. Certainly if he catches it in the field of play and goes into the end zone, now you've got momentum, and I'm going to let you guys run with that. But at this point, I want to stay on track here and give you guys some stuff to work on as well in your area meetings. One of the things that I want to talk about here is the punt plays. I see a lot of our wings going too far downfield, and I'm going to show you, I believe, a very good mechanic where our wings are moving downfield. Our target on a punt, and this is a punt play. You can see I've got the punter circled, and they're going to punt towards us on this drone footage. The wings will come about halfway to the return man. That's about where we would like to set up as wing officials and observe the play. I see way too many wing officials take off from the line of scrimmage, hustle downfield. I see a lot of them not officiating on their way down, but in particular, this message is stop about halfway and your view angle is good. Again, where we set this up for first down, it's not a critical location. So here I'm showing how these view angles from our wing officials is what we're looking for. And I actually have the arrows pointed at players that are not different colored players. We're looking for the conflict colors where we've got R and K in conflict. But I like the way they set up here. If they were to stop about right here, I think I'm showing here that this wing official continues down. He doesn't need to. Again, this spot is not a critical spot. Our back judge can get it with the wings assistant. We'll set this up, but keeping a good angle is helpful. Plus, you're not going to get players into your legs. And here I'm going to show where I believe the wing is going down too far. You'll see this near wing. There's no reason for him to take this all the way down to even where it goes out of bounds and get this official spot. It's not that critical. And now they're going to talk about whether there was first touching or not, which is great communication. But again, I think we need to stop and not get too close to this ball as it possibly could be returned back upfield. So my message here is try to stop about halfway to the return man and observe the play, let it come to you.
Kirk, question came in. This last clip that you had up there, wouldn't that be KCI, or isn't that a possible alert for KCI on that play?
KCI is something we should always be focused on. Let me get this back. I think you're talking about this play.
Yes.
Again, yeah, there's all sorts of stuff you can work on with watching game film. I'm going to leave this to the back judges, whether that was kick-catch interference. If he inhibited the return man from making that catch, then it would be KCI. I don't know that I have enough information here to rule on that. And that is just the back judge's call as well. Okay, I'm going to run to this block below the waist by the defense. And this, I'm not sure if this is as prevalent in the other areas around the state, but there are some Denver metro area teams that really take advantage of the defensive backs and linebackers trying to take out the legs of lead blockers. And I've got a few plays here, and I will say to this group, this is not an easy thing for us to officiate. I wish we had tools in our toolbox that made this easier. But really, the only tool we have is if the offensive coach and the team in white here says, hey, I saw them on film, they try to take out our lead runner by going low on the legs. Obviously, we should be on high alert. Sometimes I think our back judges can help us. I will tell you that when the umpires have this right in front of them at their feet, they just don't see enough of the play. It happens too quick. Wings and back judges are really the key to seeing this. I don't even think the referee has much opportunity, but you see that happen right in front of the umpire. It's just very difficult to read that. He goes low on the lead blocker, definitely a block below the waist foul, and probably because of it looks like the referee found this one. That's good, but I think that's a tough one to find as well, unless he's actually got that view right up the alley there. And in this case, he must have. Here's another one. It'll stop here, and I'll show you which player we're looking at. So that wing official, it might be difficult for this head linesman to be looking back this way. He's got a block right in front of him here. And no need to be looking at the ball. And the referee's got that ball carrier as it approaches the line of scrimmage. Maybe this umpire could see this. Not likely. He's looking at that perimeter block as well. Back judges, maybe we need your help here. I'll back it up and you'll see how he goes low on this lead blocker. And these are injury fouls that we really are needing to make a priority to catch. Back this up. taking out the lead blocker. This even looks like he does it behind the ball carrier. He has no interest in making a tackle. He's just wanting to take out a lead blocker. This angle, I only run this because you get a little bit idea of what you see as a back judge. Maybe you can pick that up. But we need help at the line of scrimmage, and umpires need help from back judges on that. Here's another one. Again, it's happening right in the middle. Tough to pick up from an umpire. Maybe the wings could see that. But it's almost, you got to see a lot more than just a couple steps before it happens. You almost need to see the approach. And in this case, he's just going low. So again, be on high alert. I think this is the last one. I think y'all are getting my point. This is interesting because it's on a pass play. So our linebacker's coming up, taking on maybe even the back out of the backfield, going out for a pass. And in this case, we've got our wings looking in pass coverage. They shouldn't be looking at that location. Our umpire, I don't know if he can pick that up. This is a tough one because we really don't have eyes in that location for that purpose. All right, I think I've made my point there. I'm going to move to some goal line items, and we're going to start from the 15, outside the 15-yard line. So we talked between the 15 and 25. There's a lot of mechanics that are set up to help us here. And a critical thing, as we start moving towards the goal line, especially the wings and the back judge need to know who is responsible for the goal line, whether that's communicated by the radio. In this case, it's really, we're outside the 10 by quite a ways. There shouldn't be any question of who has the goal line. So in this case, we're snapping it from the, let me get full screen here, sorry. We're snapping it from the 17-yard line. Our back judge is on the goal line. When we're in this zone, when the back judge has both end line and goal line, he really should be somewhere in between them. And in this case, he's standing on the goal line. And what you'll notice is his first movement instinctually is to move to the middle of the end zone, which is why we want that back judge to be in the middle of the end zone to start with when we're snapping it from about this location, so that he can move to the goal line as necessary or the end line as necessary. So in this case, you'll see him naturally move backwards to where he should have started, and then he ends up backpedaling when he should have been at the goal line, and then uses a signal that we don't use in our mechanics manual. He should have either had a touchdown signal or come up, and then the wings would have had a forward progress at the 1-yard line. Or in this case, I think that's what it ends up being ruled. I think is what happens. I don't know that any, well, maybe the near wing maybe goes up for a touchdown. Now that I look at the reaction from the coach here, we're going to go for one. So this near wing must have signaled touchdown when in fact this should have been the back judge's signal at the goal line. And I know we're asking a lot of our back judges, but this is why our mechanics manual is set up the way it is. If the back judge started at the middle of the end zone, this pass play would have been completed in the field of play. The back judge would have rotated to the goal line and been in great position to signal touchdown. Wings, you're just providing some visual support. This is not your goal line to signal touchdown. I'll play it again here. Oh yeah, so it is definitely a touchdown, but that back judge should have been at the goal line. And no signal from the wings. All right, let me go to, as we move towards the goal line, so now we're going to snap somewhere between the 10 and 15-yard line. So this particular snap is at the 11. Our back judge has got still, in this case, I'm assuming based on positioning, he has not given up the goal line to the wings because he is middle of the end zone. So he's covering both end line and goal line. Slides up to the goal line after the run is, or after it's obviously not a pass. Once it's not a pass, the end line is of no factor. So as soon as he reads run, ball is handed off, he could move to that goal line, maybe a little late, but get to the goal line, and he has a touchdown signal if it's a touchdown. The wings have forward progress if it's short of the goal line, okay? Let me say that again. The back judge would signal touchdown if it's a touchdown and it's his goal line. The wings would move down, and if it's not ruled a touchdown, the wings now have a progress spot with the back judge's assistant. Okay. All right. Now I apologize for the foggy look here. This is actually this is also snapped from the 11. Let me see what my message is here. Looks like we got a flag down, pass play. Great job by the back judge rotating now to the goal line after the pass is completed in the field of play, rotating to the goal line and signaling touchdown, and watching the players in the end zone. You don't pose to the press box. We watch the players go into the end zone. I think I actually have another one here where we're going to snap it from the 11. The back judge is lined up mid end zone, so he has not given up the goal line. There are some back judges that when you get to this point, he says, wings, this is yours. I'm really reluctant to have the back judge give up the goal line before about the 11. I think the 12 might be too far out for our wings. Certainly at the 13, we should not be giving up the goal line if you're the back judge, unless the team throws the ball every play, which I still don't think it's a wise move. That's just too far to get to the goal line for the wings. So in this case, they're snapping it from the 11. It's obvious to me the back judge still has the goal line. He's lined up between the two lines. Pass is going to be completed in the field of play. Nope, I'm sorry, it's a run play. He rotates his body, signals. Actually, he's aware that it's a first down. He signals a clock stop because it's run and tackled in the field of play and not a touchdown. I just like the looks of this. Great position by all members of the crew. Here's another view of it. You'll see the back judge on a running play knows he doesn't have any responsibility on the end line, so he rotates to the goal line, rules it's short with a timeout signal because it happens to be a 1st and 10. All right, we're going to move again now to the between the 5 and the 10-yard line. And when we get between the 5 and the 10, the back judge should give up the goal line. This happens to be snapped at the 10. Back judge gives up the goal line to the wings. And so he will be on the end line. The message we say to the wings is try to stay in front of the runner, which is a different message that we would say if you snapped it from the 5. When we snap it from the 5 and in, we tell the wings, get to the goal line. When we snap between the 5 and the 10, we say, try to stay ahead of the runner, which is different than outside the 10. We tell wings, stay behind the runner. Okay, so once we get to the 10-yard line between the 10 and the 5, we tell the wings, try to stay in front of the runner, and it's not always possible. They're obviously fast and have a lot of momentum, but your mindset is to stay ahead of the forward progress spot and possibly put yourself in a position to rule on the goal line. So in this case, you'll see the wing at the top move at the snap. He did not have to get to the goal line, but the play took him all the way there. I think this is just a great mechanic right here. Everything's good about this. I like his width. We talk about being off of the sideline. Maybe he should have started a little wider. He's certainly a good width at the end of the play. I don't know that I like the chains laying around at his feet, but I just like how this is officiated here. All right, this one is got some unique components. We've got second and about 8 or 9. If this was 4th and 9 or 3rd and 9, which then requires a field goal decision, we would know there's 2 money lines. In this case, it's not really a money line, it's a line to gain stake. Really, the only money line is the goal line. I think this is the play. Yeah, I've got whose goal line is this? And so when I look at this arrangement right now with the back judge in the middle of the end zone, that tells me he is responsible for the goal line. And so I'm expecting if that ball crosses the goal line, him to go up with a signal from the goal line and the near wing to punch in that I have him inbounds all the way through. Instead, we've got some confusion here. This near wing thinks he's got goal line. The back judge thinks he has goal line. So there's a breakdown in communication. I would expect this, and I see the back judge move to the goal line a little bit late. One thing I do like about the near wing official is I love the rotation. We talk about not posing to the press box, but watch the players out of bounds, and that's a great job. Where I believe the breakdown here is who is responsible for the goal line. And the way it looked on the original setup, it was the back judges, and the wing official, the near wing official, should have just punched it in as if I've got him in all the way down the sideline, and then he can rotate and watch that play out of bounds, and the back judge would have signaled touchdown from his goal line. Here we got one more, I think, snapped from the 10. Oh, I'm sorry, this is the same play. All right, I did wipe out some of these because I thought I'd be running long. All right, now we are moving all the way down inside the 5-yard line, and I think I've seen a lot of progress over the last 4 or 5 years. Our wings knowing that they've got goal line coverage and getting to the goal line at the snap. Now, that doesn't mean you stop officiating. You just know that from this moment, you're going to move to the goal line and be wide and officiate the goal line and have the best seat in the house to officiate that. That's where the coaches want us. That's where we should be. And so we'll see the head linesman at the top where the arrow points. You see him move immediately to the goal line, set his eyes still, has a ruling short of the goal line. You'll see him. He's not sure at the top of the screen. The near official comes in. I wish there was a little more video here. I'm a proponent of stepping onto the field when there's not a big pile in the middle here. I would like to see this near official stop his feet and signal instead of running with his arms up in the air. I just think it looks good if we come in. I think everybody is confident this is a touchdown. Plant your feet, go up with a slow touchdown signal, and then observe players. So snapped inside the 5, move to the goal line. The near official has a score. Come in probably either halfway to the G or to the G on the field. Stop, put your hands up, signal touchdown. Be different if there was a big scrum. In this case, you have confidence, signal touchdown, we're good to go. All right, we're going to have snap from about the 5, like this thing's already in motion, 5 or 6 yard line. Top of the screen, I like to see this. Great position, he's wide. Great job. Love to see this. Moves to the goal line, backs off the pylon, maybe could even gone off the pylon right away. Width is your friend. Good signal. Great job. All right, this one I want to talk a little bit about crashing wings. So this is the scrum that's very difficult. I mean, it's hard to see who's got what. Umpires, we always like to see you point to find the ball. You can see this, the near official, the line judge coming in from the right. He could have used some help to find that football. He knew what body carried it in, but he wasn't quite sure where the ball was. I'm good with coming in, trying to find that football. Umpires maybe help out by pointing where it is. Let's talk about the head linesman on the top side. Again, I like stopping coming into the resistance, stopping the feet, signaling touchdown. And I think in this case, the line judge on the near side had the head linesman come all the way in and signaled about come in all the way right here. He knew he had a touchdown before he ever got there. He saw it before he ever got there. Come crashing in, make a confident signal from about right here. I think that just looks better. And umpire and referee right in the mix here trying to umpile players. I think that looks good all around. All right. That's the from the 5 yard line going in, wings get to the goal line and officiate at the goal line. All right, we're going to show a few plays here of the goal line coming out. full screen here. So this happens to be snapped from the 2-yard line. We're going to watch the top of the screen. Same thing when we're snapping inside the 5, coming out, wings, that goal line is yours. Referee, the end line is yours. So in this case, you see at the top of the screen, the head linesman moves to the goal line, and once that goal line is no longer threatened, he moves upfield. Great job. This is what we're looking for at the goal line coming out when it's snapped inside the 5-yard line. This is the same play. Guess I don't have the wings in the screen here. All right, this is an oldie but goodie. This is from a state championship game several years ago. We're snapping it coming out from the 7-yard line, and if you're a quarterback setting up, a lot of times they will take a pass step back to about 7 yards back and set up to pass, which puts them right on the goal line. And that's what's going to happen here. You're going to see the quarterback go back to pass, stops about the goal line, chooses to run backwards. I think what could have helped us here, I want to show this version and stop it. I think we've decided that the best position for the referee is going to be wider and closer to that goal line. The chance of the end line being threatened on this play is different than a shotgun snap, and certainly a punt would be totally different, but being wider and closer to that goal line to be able to step up to the goal line at this moment, I think could help us out here. If that referee had moved, rotated, you can see my cursor, if that referee could have rotated somewhere up into here at about this moment, I think we would have been in a better position to rule on this. We got it right, but there's a lot of difficulty in trying to cover both those lines by the referee. But again, we snapped it outside the 5. So this is the referee's goal line. And I think width helps us, along with a couple, 3 steps to the goal line once we know that end line is obviously not threatened. So the referee comes up, rules a forward progress stop. Here's another view of it from the end zone camera. I'll show this one more time. Guess I won't. One more shot from the end zone here. But again, money line, money line, money line. All right, here's another one. And this is my emphasis here. I think width and closer to the goal line. So in this case, we're snapping. I'm going to say it's snapped from the 6. So referee has the goal line in this case. So I want our referees wider and closer to that goal line. The chance of the end line being threatened is a lot less. I'm not saying it never happens, but really the money line here is that goal line. So I think I have a mark here. Let's see if get it here. Sorry. I put a mark on. I don't know if that's proper, but it gives you an idea. I think if we're wider and closer to the goal line, we're better off. No issue on this particular play. All right. I think that was the end of my list. Right at 7:30. How'd we do?
I think we're good on timing. Does that conclude us for the night, Kirk?
That is the end of my list of plays I wanted to throw out to everybody. I have got a bazillion plays that I could watch every time I sit down and watch game film. Area directors around the state, if there's an opportunity, I can't promise, but if you have a desire to run some game film for your area, give me a buzz and let me see if I can bundle up something up and send it to you. We've got a pretty good collection in Denver, and we keep adding to it. And a reminder in your game reports, George sent out that email. When we see something in a game report that is just unique, a lot of times I'll be able to pull that from from the coach, from that team, and say, hey, this is something we can learn from. It helps us all. I know sometimes you feel exposed that you maybe did it wrong, but if you could help everybody out around the state to say, hey, we saw this, we want to share it, we learned from it, we'd like everybody else to learn from it. I can mine that out of their huddle film, or if you can even get it for me, send it to me, and we'll get it in our library of opportunities to learn from. So
There is a quick question that came in for George around the disconcerting act signal. Was that something that you were prepared to cover tonight, George, or talk about real quick?
The disconcerting act signal in our mechanics manual is the illegal procedure signal. The rule book has the old illegal equipment signal, which still can be used for illegal equipment. But in Colorado, we're using signal 19, which is the rolling fists.
Got it. Okay. Well, lots of thank yous coming in the chat window. If you are near your director, I will send out the attendance list to you as soon as it's available. Takes WebEx about, 30 minutes or so to make this available for me to send out the recording. I will take care of that this evening. And thank you for joining. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, Joe.